thick-tailed scorpion raises its venomous stinger defensively, but the honey badger snaps forward without a fraction of hesitation. The scorpion's potent sting glances harmlessly off her thick, rubbery hide as she crunches through the armored prey in mere seconds. One scorpion is barely a mouthful. Her caloric demands are extreme, and her cub's survival depends on securing substantially larger meals. She continues moving east across the sun-drenched flats, her low profile slicing through tall golden grass with tireless mechanical endurance. She freezes mid-stride. A faint scent carried on the warming air heralds an enormous prize and an equally lethal challenge. On the distant horizon stands the towering silhouette of an ancient baobab, where thousands of wild bees guard their liquid gold. Undeterred by the mounting swarm of defensive bees, the honey badger charges straight toward the base of the massive baobab trunk. Her thick claws bite deeply into the rough-grooved bark as she climbs effortlessly upward toward the buzzing tree hollow. Hundreds of furious African honeybees swarm her eyes and ears, launching thousands of venomous stings against her thick mantle. Her loose rubbery skin acts as an impenetrable shield, absorbing countless painful stings without slowing her relentless advance into the nest. Reaching the hollow entrance, she thrusts both forepaws deep inside, ripping away thick slabs of golden honeycomb dripping with rich larvae. She gorges ravenously on the protein-rich bee brood and sweet wax, ignoring the cloud of insects stinging her coarse black snout. Satisfied and buzzing with raw energy, she scrambles down the baobab trunk and drops heavily back onto the dusty savanna floor. She vigorously rolls in the dry dust to dislodge the remaining bees, her tough coat completely unharmed by the intense assault. The morning sun climbs higher into the pale sky as she presses forward across the scrubland in search of denser calories. Entering a labyrinth of sun-warmed calcrete boulders, she immediately catches the pungent musk of a large reptile basking on the rocks. She tracks the fresh scent trail along narrow stone crevices, her sharp claws clicking rhythmically against the sun-baked granite slabs. A heavily armored rock monitor lizard detects her approach, whipping its powerful muscular tail and hissing a deep, resonant warning. The monitor inflates its throat with air to look twice its size, but the honey badger simply lowers her heavy head. The monitor lashes its thick tail like a whip, yet she lunges under the strike to clamp her iron jaws shut. With brutal efficiency, she pins the struggling reptile beneath her heavy forepaws, securing a vital, nutrient-rich prize for the long day. Leaving the rocky copy behind, she marches relentlessly toward the scorching red sand dunes, where deadly heat waves shimmer under midday sun. Her heavy paws leave deep imprints in the burning orange sand, with thick pads fully hardened against scorching desert ground. Bleached camelthorn bushes cast sharp black shadows across the sand, creating an ideal ambush maze for predators sheltering from the heat. Her keen nose dips low, catching the sharp, unmistakable chemical musk of a large venomous reptile recently crossing the dune ridge. Fresh serpentine tracks cut a distinct winding S-shaped groove through the soft red sand, leading straight toward a dense, thorny thicket. Without a moment of hesitation, she locks onto the fresh scent trail, lowering her muscular shoulders to pursue the lethal quarry. She pushes directly into the tangled web of bleaching thorn roots, completely unbothered by the razor-sharp spines scraping against her hide. A sharp, dry rustle erupts from beneath a hollow camelthorn root, signaling that her quarry has detected her rapid approach. Her dark eyes narrow with ferocious predatory focus, recognizing the lethal nature of the subterranean adversary waiting in the deep shadows. A flash of bright yellowish-golden scales glides smoothly across the red sand, slipping out into an open defensive striking circle. The honey badger bursts through the thorny barrier with aggressive speed, cutting off any possible avenue of escape for the serpent. Cornered, a massive Cape cobra rears its upper body a meter into the air, spreading its broad golden hood defensively. Two of Africa's most fearless desert hunters now stand face-to-face on the burning sand, locked in an ancient predatory duel. The cobra displays a healed scar across its flared hood, hissing with explosive force while tracking every twitch of the badger. Dropping low to the ground, the honey badger begins a calculated circle, preparing to step directly into the lethal strike zone. She darts forward with sudden speed, baiting the cobra into striking early before its defensive hood can fully align. The Cape cobra launches a lightning-fast forward strike, fangs flashing in the midday sun, snapping shut mere inches above the sand. Using her loose rubbery skin to absorb the near miss, she pivots instantly, slipping beneath the serpent's flared golden hood. The cobra whips back and delivers a rapid defensive bite to her cheek, injecting lethal neurotoxin into her dense facial tissue. Ignoring the venomous puncture, she clamps powerful jaws onto the back of the cobra's head, crushing the vertebrae with iron force. A single violent headshake breaks the serpent's spine, ending the ferocious duel on the scorching red sand of the savannah. The battle is won, but the cobra's potent neurotoxin now courses rapidly through her bloodstream, attacking her central nervous system. Her muscular legs buckle under the toxic onslaught, and she slumps heavily onto the warm orange sand, sinking into unconsciousness. Lying motionless beside the dead cobra, specialized biological mutations in her blood receptors begin neutralizing the lethal cobra venom proteins. For 2 hours beneath the blazing African sun, the savannah falls dead silent as her miraculous internal antidote does its work. A sudden twitch of her black whiskers breaks the stillness, her dark eyes flickering open as consciousness surges back into life. Rising steadily to all 4 feet, she violently shakes the red dust from her silver coat, completely revitalized and unharmed. Without missing a beat, she begins devouring the neutralized Cape Cobra, consuming the venomous reptile headfirst for essential survival calories. With her belly full of protein and her strength restored, she resumes her march toward the rocky savanna outcrops ahead. Approaching the sun-drenched granite kopje, a new predatory shadow watches from above, guarding the high territory with keen golden eyes. Perched high atop a sun-warmed granite boulder, a large adult caracal watches the badger's steady advance with intense, its long black-tufted ears twitch sharply in the warm breeze, sensing an intruder boldly entering its strictly defended rocky hunting territory. Unaware or simply uncaring of the feline watcher, the mother honey badger scrambles purposefully up the lower granite stone shelves. As she crests the rocky ridge, the caracal steps directly into view, snarling a sharp territorial warning with fully extended ivory claws. The agile wild cat lowers its sleek, tawny body into a tense, stalking crouch, calculating the angle for an ambush strike. Instead of retreating, the honey badger drops her heavy head and emits a ferocious, rattling war chuff from deep within. With explosive feline acceleration, the caracal launches forward across the stone, delivering a lightning-fast claw swipe aimed squarely at her exposed neck. The razor-sharp claws rake across her thick, rubbery hide, but the loose skin shifts harmlessly, completely deflecting the lethal impact. Instantly pivoting within her loose skin, she counterattacks with terrifying ferocity, snapping bone-crushing jaws straight toward the caracal's front paws. Shocked by her total refusal to back down, the agile feline leaps backward onto a high boulder, ears pinned flat. She presses her relentless assault forward, lunging up the rocks with snapping jaws that force the agile predator further back. Recognizing that this armored powerhouse cannot be subdued or intimidated, the caracal wisely decides to abandon the dangerous territorial confrontation entirely. With one final defensive hiss, the wild cat bounds gracefully over the granite crest, vanishing into the rocky labyrinth beyond. Standing solitary upon the high boulder, the honey badger asserts complete dominance over the ridge, scent-marking the sun-warmed granite stone. With the feline threat neutralized, she turns toward the shadowy gorge ahead, driven by the eternal duty of feeding her cub. Entering the cool shadows of the dry river gorge, she moves stealthily between towering granite cliffs carved by ancient seasonal floodwaters. Dry river gravel crunches softly beneath her padded feet as she follows a faint, musky scent winding deep between fallen driftwood. Her keen nostrils flare against cool riverbed silt, detecting the thick, ancient aroma of a massive, cold-blooded predator lurking close nearby. She halts beneath a towering overhang, her sharp eyes scanning the deep, shadowy recesses of a massive granite crevice straight ahead. Inside the cavernous rock fissure, the ambient temperature drops sharply, creating a secluded den completely untouched by the scorching savanna sun. 4 meters of thick, muscular coils shift silently across the stone shelf, scales shimmering with dark olive and brown natural camouflage. An enormous African rock python uncoils its heavy, muscular body, its distinctive cloudy left eye gleaming in the faint canyon light. Giant constrictor rears its broad triangular head, blocking the narrow gorge path with overwhelming muscular strength and lethal predatory intent. Unintimidated by the python's sheer size, The mother honey badger bristles her silver mantle and emits a fierce, sharp, warning growl. The serpent pulls its thick neck back into a tight S-shaped strike curve, forked black tongue sampling the badger's heat signature. With terrifying explosive force, the python strikes forward, gaping jaws aimed straight at the honey badger's stocky head and exposed neck. She ducks with lightning reflexes, the serpent's heavy strike crashing against bare rock as her thick, loose skin slips past danger. Seizing the brief opening, she lunges forward and clamps powerful, crushing jaws directly onto the python's thick, muscular neck vertebrae. The massive snake thrashes, wrapping suffocating coils around her body, but her rubbery hide allows her to twist inside the constriction. Delivering a bone-snapping bite, she forces the giant constrictor to unravel its coils and retreat deep into the dark crevice. Climbing out of the shadowed gorge, she enters an expansive grove of umbrella acacias bathed in rich golden-orange late-afternoon sunlight. Tall, dry grass sways gently beneath the sprawling canopy, concealing the movements of Africa's most secretive and deadly arboreal apex predator. She stops abruptly beside an ancient trunk, her sensitive black nostrils catching the faint, unmistakable scent of a nearby hunting leopard. High up on a thick, horizontal acacia bough, a powerful adult leopard rests in silent ambush, watching the ground below. Its piercing amber eyes lock onto the badger, a unique circular ring rosette marking its muscular right shoulder in the sun. The leopard bunches its powerful shoulder muscles, shifting weight along the rough bark in preparation for a sudden downward ambush pounce. Looking directly upward into the branches, the mother honey badger detects the spotted feline silhouette against the bright, sunlit acacia canopy. The big cat creeps lower along the heavy bough, glaring down with cold calculation at the small but formidable creature beneath. Standing her ground, the badger bears sharp white canines, releasing a harsh, rattling war hiss that echoes through the quiet grove. She forcefully claws the tree trunk, demonstrating her lethal digging weapons to warn the watching predator against dropping to the ground. The leopard curls its upper lip into a silent snarl, long claws digging deep into the bark as it hesitates. Refusing to alter her course, she marches boldly directly beneath the heavy branch, keeping her bristling silver mantle held high. Knowing that tackling an armored honey badger risks crippling injury, the wise leopard chooses to remain perched safely on its branch. She strides out from beneath the predator's perch, her unyielding courage once again commanding absolute respect from the savanna's greatest hunters. As the sun dips toward the horizon, she presses forward across the savanna, heading toward the open twilight dust flats. Across the dust-choked flat, 4 spotted hyenas fan out in the crimson twilight, their eerie calls echoing across the cooling savanna. She halts abruptly in the open dirt, dark eyes scanning the shifting silhouettes circling through the rising evening dust. Heavy hyena paws pace restlessly across the cracked earth, closing the distance to surround the solitary intruder from all sides. 4 seasoned clan hunters form a tightening perimeter, testing her resolve with low, menacing postures and bared, bone-crushing teeth. Dropping her stocky body low, the mother honey badger bristles her silver mantle and emits a fierce, rattling war snarl. The bold lead hyena darts forward in a mocking feint, testing whether the small creature will turn and run. Instead of fleeing, she deploys her potent anal scent gland, releasing a suffocating, foul musk that stuns the approaching predators. The lead hyena recoils in disgust as the pungent chemical defense burns its sensitive nostrils, breaking its aggressive forward momentum. Capitalizing on their hesitation, she erupts into a violent spinning charge, snapping her iron jaws at anything stepping within reach. When a second hyena lunges from behind, her loose rubbery hide shifts instantly, allowing her to whip around and retaliate. With jaws dripping saliva and coarse fur standing tall, she roars with absolute fury, proving she will fight to the death. Realizing that this armored powerhouse cannot be overwhelmed without severe injury, the spotted hyenas reluctantly step back 10 paces. The clan matriarch lowers her head and emits a sullen whoop, deciding that the fierce little fighter is not worth the risk. One by one, the 4 hyenas retreat into the gathering purple twilight, leaving the victorious mother in complete possession of the plains. Standing alone in the cooling dust flat, she catches her breath and turns eastward, ready to complete her perilous journey home. Under the vast silver expanse of the African night, The mother honey badger trots tirelessly across the cool, moonlit savanna grassland. Her heavy padded feet move silently across the cool, dewy soil, leaving a faint trail across the silver-lit landscape. Night brings new nocturnal predators to the savanna, but her keen black nose constantly tests the chilly air for lingering danger. In the distance stands the towering silhouette of an ancient dead ironwood tree, sheltering the hidden burrow beneath its massive roots. She reaches the perimeter of the ancient root system, slowing her rolling trot into a cautious, highly alert stalking gait. Before approaching the entrance, she circles the gnarled roots, inspecting the dusty ground for any unfamiliar tracks or feline scents. Her wet black nostrils dip low into the burrow entrance, confirming the reassuring, familiar scent of her sleeping cub resting inside. She releases a soft, low-frequency maternal chuff into the dark tunnel, signaling that the perilous daily hunt is finally complete. Deep underground, the single honey badger cub stirs from slumber, blinking fluffy eyes as it recognizes its mother's distinct call. The hungry young cub scrambles upward through the sandy tunnel, eager to greet the returning matriarch at the moonlit threshold. Mother and cub reunite in the soft silver moonlight, nuzzling muzzles in an affectionate display of fierce survival and devotion. She shares vital, protein-rich nourishment gathered throughout her exhausting 24-hour journey, securing her fragile offspring's growth for another precious day. The cub feeds eagerly beside the shelter of the roots, while the battle-hardened mother stands watchful guard over the perimeter. Side by side, they retreat deep into the subterranean darkness of the den, safe from the cold night predators outside. Above ground, the vast African savanna rests in peaceful silver stillness, having tested and failed to break this indomitable mother. As the first golden rays of a new dawn pierce the cool mist, the mother honey badger leads her cub outside. The small cub blinks curiously against the rising sun, sniffing the crisp morning air filled with the scent of wild savanna. Her sharp eyes scan the vast horizon, ever watchful for rival predators that patrol the open plains at first light. She sets off across the golden grass with her rolling trot, her offspring eagerly mimicking every single stride behind her. Survival in this ruthless landscape requires mastery of the earth, where every meal must be unearthed with tireless determination. With effortless strength, she rips open a hardened clump of dry soil, exposing a fat grub for her curious cub. The young cub pounces clumsily on the squirming prize, taking its very first steps toward becoming an independent savanna hunter. Watching quietly, the battle-tested mother reinforces the unbreakable confidence that defines her species across the African continent. When a small sand lizard darts across the red dust, she stands back, encouraging the young one to give chase. Kicking up tiny puffs of orange dust, the spirited cub chases the nimble reptile between scattered clumps of bleached grass. Pinning the small lizard beneath its front paws, the cub looks up proudly, absorbing the vital lesson of predatory persistence. Her scarred silver mantle gleams under the radiant morning sun, a living testament to 24 hours of relentless, victorious battles. In the unforgiving Kalahari, survival is not a permanent triumph, but a daily trial earned through courage and unbreakable willpower. Side by side, mother and cub march forward into the radiant wilderness, ready to confront whatever deadly challenges await them today. The wild tale of the fearless honey badger continues, as the eternal circle of African savanna survival turns once more. Moving beyond her familiar hunting grounds, the mother honey badger enters a vast valley dominated by towering red clay termite mounds. Massive earthen pillars rise like desert monoliths against the pale morning sky, sheltering complex subterranean kingdoms beneath the hard-baked savanna soil. She approaches a towering 3-meter mound, pressing her sensitive black snout against the sun-baked clay to pinpoint vibrations deep within. Her heavy curved front claws strike the rock-solid structure with explosive power, chipping away thick slabs of concrete-like red clay. With relentless mechanical strength, she excavates a deep trench, breaching the mound's outer fortress to expose rich chambers of nutritious larvae. She thrusts her black snout deep into the exposed galleries, ravenously licking up thousands of protein-rich termites and fat alate queens. A sudden rustle near the base fissures draws her attention, where a heavily armored desert reptile lurks within the deep shadows. Her dark eyes narrow with predatory focus as she tracks the heavy, scaly tail sliding between cracked calcrete rocks nearby. A large armored-plated lizard emerges aggressively, hissing a sharp territorial warning while flexing its heavily scaled, spiny defensive body. The lizard lashes its spiny tail violently, but she ducks beneath the blow, driving her stocky body straight toward the target. Closing the gap instantly, she clamps her crushing jaws around the reptile's armored flank, overpowering its rigid defenses with sheer jaw strength. With a decisive shake of her heavy neck, she subdues the struggling lizard, securing another vital meal on the dry savanna floor. She feeds efficiently on the protein-heavy catch, replenishing the massive energy reserves required to sustain her growing cub back at the den. Wiping her bloodied muzzle against the dry sand, she stands tall under the warming morning sun, revitalized and ready to press forward. A distant raptor screech cuts across the sky as she turns toward the arid sand plains, sensing new challenges rising with the heat. Across the shimmering red dunes, a colossal shadow sweeps across the burning sand, cast by Africa's largest avian apex predator. Perched high on a bleached camelthorn branch, a majestic martial eagle tracks the badger's movements with razor-sharp predatory vision. The honey badger halts instantly, tilting her scarred head to lock fierce, unblinking eyes onto the winged hunter above. With a massive 6-foot wingspan, the eagle launches into a sweeping dive, testing the ground predator's unyielding nerve. She rears onto her hind legs, jaws snapping fiercely at the razor talons, slicing mere inches above her bristling silver mantle. Unable to find an opening against the armored fighter, the raptor catches a thermal updraft and spirals harmlessly away. Dropping back onto all 4 paws, she turns her attention back to the burning earth, catching a fresh subterranean scent. Her keen black nostrils trace a subtle depression in the red sand, where a sidewinding horned adder lies buried in ambush. Hidden beneath the shifting grains, a venomous horned adder waits perfectly camouflaged, its lethal strike coiled and ready. With explosive speed, the honey badger tears into the sand dune, scattering red dust to unearth the venomous serpent. The adder bursts from the sand, striking aggressively, but its short fangs glance harmlessly off her thick, rubbery cheek. She counters instantly, pinning the thrashing snake with heavy claws and crushing its head with a single powerful bite. She consumes the venomous viper in seconds, absorbing rich nutrients while her immune system effortlessly handles any traces of venom. Standing atop the red dune crest, she surveys the vast, shimmering desert expanse as early afternoon shadows begin to stretch. Driven by relentless maternal instinct, she begins the long trek back toward the eastern scrubland, watchful for any new threats. Leaving the sand dunes behind, she enters an expansive dried mud pan, where cracked clay tiles bake under the blazing afternoon sun. Her hardened, leathery footpads move effortlessly across the razor-sharp clay edges, completely impervious to the rough and abrasive desert terrain. Her wet black nostrils flare sharply as she catches the pungent, musky scent of opportunistic scavengers shadowing her path. At the edge of the dry pan, a pair of black-backed jackals paces restlessly, eyeing the lone badger with cunning persistence. The lead jackal whines softly, its large ears twitching forward as it calculates whether the badger can be harassed into fleeing. Sensing their encroachment, the mother honey badger spins around, dropping into a wide combative stance with bristling silver fur. The braver jackal darts in from the flank, but she launches a ferocious countercharge, driving her stocky body straight forward. Her bone-crushing jaws snap shut mere inches from the jackal's muzzle, sending the agile scavenger scrambling backward in panic. She pursues them aggressively across the open clay flats, completely scattering the opportunistic pair with her unstoppable territorial fury. Halting at the safety of the thorn scrub, the jackals glance back one last time, acknowledging that this adversary cannot be defeated. With the scavengers driven off, she investigates a steep clay bank, detecting a hidden desert bullfrog buried deep in dried mud. Her curved digging claws slice through the hardened clay slabs like iron chisels, breaking into the sealed underground chamber in seconds. She devours the moisture-rich amphibian immediately, extracting critical hydration and protein to sustain her ongoing journey across the arid flats. Standing dominant in the center of the vast white pan, she embodies the supreme adaptability of Africa's most formidable small predator. She turns toward the rocky granite corridor ahead, stepping steadily into the lengthening shadows to continue her relentless survival quest. Entering the narrow granite corridor, the honey badger navigates between towering boulders where deep fissures harbor concealed subterranean arachnids. Her sensitive snout hovers over a silk-lined burrow entrance, catching the distinct chemical signature of a giant baboon spider. With rapid, precise claw strokes, she excavates the vertical silk funnel, tearing through rock-hard calcrete earth in mere seconds. A massive horned baboon spider rears defensively with fangs dripping venom, but she crushes it beneath heavy paws. She devours the nutrient-dense arachnid without hesitation, completely unbothered by its potent neurotoxic venom glands and defensive bristles. Emerging onto an open calcrete terrace, she picks up the pungent, earthy musk of an enormous resident savanna herbivore. Guarding a deep sleeping burrow beneath the rocks, an adult warthog raises its bristly tail in sudden defensive alarm. The massive warthog drops onto its front knees, displaying deadly curved ivory tusks capable of goring large savanna predators. Standing directly in its path, the mother honey badger bristles her silver mantle and emits a fierce, rattling roar. The warthog lunges forward with a threatening mock charge, but she advances boldly, snapping jaws straight at its snout. Startled by her terrifying aggression, the heavy boar halts abruptly, its sharp hooves skidding across the sun-baked stone. Weighing 80 kilograms, the heavily tusked pig decides that tangling with a relentless honey badger is far too dangerous. With a sharp warning snort, the massive warthog wheels around and retreats swiftly backward into its secure rock burrow. She marches past the contested burrow without slowing, her legendary reputation clearing every single obstacle across the savanna. As late afternoon sunlight deepens to rich amber, she approaches the shadowed riverbed, preparing for the coming evening chill. As dusk descends over the dry riverbed, the golden amber light fades into deep purple shadows along the rugged canyon floor. She trots steadily along the ancient gravel bed, her silver mantle glowing softly against the darkening granite canyon walls. Her keen black nostrils twitch rapidly, catching the musky scent of a nomadic predator pack entering the gorge. On a high granite ledge above, 3 African wild dogs appear, their mottled coats blending seamlessly with the twilight rocks. Large, rounded ears swivel forward to track the lone traveler below, assessing whether this small creature is viable prey. Trotting down the steep gravel slope, the pack spreads out, attempting to cut off her path through the narrow riverbed. Instead of fleeing, the mother honey badger halts and drops low, flaring her coarse silver mantle in unmistakable warning. She bears sharp white canines and emits a ferocious rattling hiss that echoes loudly off the sheer granite cliff walls. The lead wild dog darts forward in a probing lunge, but she snaps violently, driving her stocky body straight forward. Her thick, rubbery skin twists easily, allowing her to spin instantly and snap her crushing jaws at the flanking hunter. Deploying her pungent anal scent gland with an aggressive charge, she creates a foul defensive barrier across the gravel floor. The wild dogs recoil sharply, sneezing in disgust as the suffocating chemical musk burns their sensitive nasal passages. Recognizing that this armored fighter offers no easy meal, the pack bounds gracefully up the opposite slope, conceding the passage. Standing solitary in the cooling riverbed, she shakes the dust from her silver coat, her unyielding courage holding the ground. As the first stars emerge in the deep indigo sky, she resumes her steady march toward the home territory ahead. Exiting the rocky gorge onto the moonlit plains, the mother honey badger continues her tireless march across the dewy savanna grass. Her thick padded paws step silently over silver grass blades, leaving a faint dark trail beneath the luminous African night sky. Her black snout twitches as she catches the fresh scent of a slender feline predator patrolling the open grassy expanse. Bathed in cool silver moonlight, a solitary cheetah scans the vast open plain, her lean athletic frame poised with intense alertness. Distinct black tear lines frame her sharp golden eyes as she detects the unmistakable rolling trot of the approaching honey badger. Refusing to alter her homeward course, the badger strides steadily forward, her coarse silver mantle glowing brightly under the glowing moon. Spotting the fearless mustelid entering her hunting grounds, The cheetah drops into a low, defensive crouch amid the silvery grass. The honey badger immediately responds by lowering her heavy head, baring sharp white teeth, and rattling a fierce warning growl. The agile cheetah hisses sharply, arching her slender spotted back, while keeping a cautious distance from the heavily armored intruder. When the cheetah makes a sudden lightning-fast feint, the badger lunges forward explosively, snapping powerful jaws directly at her paws. Startled by the ferocious counterattack, the swift cat springs backward, realizing this armored opponent will fight without a shred of fear. Valuing speed and self-preservation above all else, the wise cheetah turns her slender body away to avoid a crippling clash. With a fluid burst of effortless speed, the spotted feline bounds away across the plain, vanishing silently into the dark horizon. Standing solitary beneath the full moon, the mother badger rubs her flank against the grass, asserting total dominance over the plain. With the savanna clear of rivals, she presses forward under the starry night sky, heading steadily toward her home den. Deep in the midnight savanna, she approaches a massive excavated earth mound, where fresh underground diggings reveal rich insect tunnels. A giant earthen crater yawns open under the moonlight, freshly carved out of the hard savanna clay by nocturnal excavators. Her keen black nose investigates the fresh excavation, catching the rich scent of thousands of subterranean harvester ants swarming below. Thrusting her heavy curved front claws into the trench, she tears open the earthen chambers with violent, efficient digging strokes. A large adult aardvark emerges from the deeper tunnel, startled by the aggressive intruder trespassing on its newly dug feeding site. The peculiar nocturnal mammal raises its long donkey-like ears, sniffing the cool night air with its elongated, pig-like tubular snout. Two specialized nocturnal savanna diggers now stand face-to-face over the rich insect prize in the silver glow of midnight. The mother honey badger bristles her silver mantle aggressively, lunging forward with a ferocious rattling hiss to claim the trench. Unwilling to engage the ferocious predator, the heavy aardvark wheels around and rapidly retreats into a deeper escape tunnel. Possessing the breached earthen chamber uncontested, she thrusts her snout deep inside, licking up massive clusters of nutritious subterranean ants. Thousands of swarming soldier ants bite fiercely against her face, but her dense hide renders their defensive stings completely harmless. Gorging on the bountiful harvest, she emerges from the trench, shaking red dirt and harmless insects from her silver coat. With her belly full once more, she resumes her homeward journey across the tranquil, star-drenched plains of the Kalahari. The midnight air grows sharply colder as the moon begins its western descent, signaling the approach of the pre-dawn hours. On the distant moonlit horizon, the familiar silhouette of the ancient ironwood tree beckons her toward the safety of the den. Trotting rapidly across the cold, dewy grass, the mother honey badger approaches the ancient ironwood tree, sensing an immediate threat ahead. She freezes at the den perimeter, her sharp black eyes locking onto an ominous serpentine coil blocking the sandy threshold. Her nostrils flare as she detects the pungent chemical musk of a large venomous serpent coiled directly outside her cub's den. Coiled tightly in the entrance shadow, a heavy desert cobra blocks the tunnel, its predatory attention fixed on the subterranean den. The serpent rears upward, spreading its defensive hood and hissing violently as it detects the mother's rapid, furious approach. Driven by fierce maternal rage, the mother honey badger drops low, baring sharp white teeth and unleashing an ear-shattering roar. Without a fraction of hesitation, she charges straight at the reared cobra, throwing her stocky, muscular body into the strike zone. The cobra lashes out with a lightning strike, but its fangs glance harmlessly off her thick, rubbery neck and silver mantle. Pivoting instantly, she clamps crushing iron jaws behind the cobra's hood, snapping the cervical vertebrae with overwhelming, lethal force. A single violent headshake ends the threat, clearing the burrow threshold and leaving the lifeless serpent on the cold sand. She leans over the entrance, releasing urgent, reassuring maternal chuffs into the dark tunnel to summon her hidden cub outside. Hearing its mother's familiar voice, the small, fluffy cub scrambles up from the depths of the den, completely unharmed. She thoroughly inspects her precious offspring, nuzzling its face and ensuring that the lethal intruder caused no harm whatsoever. Together at the cleared burrow mouth, they feed on the neutralized serpent, transforming a deadly ambush into vital, life-giving nourishment. As false dawn ignites the eastern horizon with radiant gold, the mother badger stands victorious, her family and territory secured. With the old den compromised by the cobra, the mother honey badger initiates an urgent relocation across the golden morning savanna. Her small cub scrambles to match her determined rolling stride, learning to navigate the dense web of bleached thorn bushes. Every sense remains razor-sharp as she monitors the scrubland, guarding her vulnerable offspring against opportunistic ambush predators. Perched high on a distant dead acacia branch, a hunting leopard spots the moving pair across the sunlit clearing. Piercing amber eyes lock onto the small white mantle of the cub, the big cat calculating an angle of pursuit. A sudden shift in the morning breeze carries the faint feline musk directly to the mother's flared black nostrils. Reacting instantly, she nudges her cub deep into a dense camelthorn thicket, sheltering it beneath razor-sharp defensive spines. The young cub presses flat against the red sand, remaining completely motionless and silent within the protective thorn fortress. Stepping boldly out into the open sunlight, she flares her coarse silver mantle, issuing a fearless visual challenge. Mother badger and distant leopard lock eyes across 50 yards of open savanna, establishing a tense predatory standoff. She bears sharp white canines and emits a sharp, rattling war chuff, demonstrating absolute readiness to defend her young. Recognizing the formidable fury of an enraged mother honey badger, the wise leopard chooses to remain safely perched above. With the aerial stalker deterred, she calls her cub from the thorny refuge, continuing their steady westward migration. Approaching a rugged calcrete ridge, she inspects promising rock crevices that offer impenetrable subterranean protection for her family. Leading her cub beneath massive granite boulders, she prepares to establish a secure new stronghold on the African savanna. From their secure new rock stronghold, the mother honey badger leads her cub onto the sun-warmed calcrete terrace to begin hunting. She navigates the layered granite slabs with focused precision, searching for deep crevices where venomous desert scorpions shelter from heat. Her keen black nostrils flare against the stone cleft, detecting the pungent chemical aroma of a giant thick-tailed scorpion underneath. Beneath the heavy stone, a massive thick-tailed scorpion raises its swollen tail, primed to inject potent neurotoxic venom upon disturbance. With explosive muscular leverage, she wedges her front digging claws beneath the slab, flipping the heavy stone aside with ease. The exposed arachnid lashes its venomous stinger repeatedly against her cheek, but the thick rubbery hide effortlessly deflects the strikes. With surgical precision, she pins the flailing scorpion to the stone with one heavy paw, neutralizing its lethal defensive weapon. She bites off the venomous stinger with a single precise snap, transforming the dangerous arachnid into the safe, disabled practice prey. Stepping back with an encouraging chuff, she invites her eager cub forward to practice its predatory skills on live quarry. The spirited cub pounces with clumsy enthusiasm, pinning the disabled scorpion beneath its small paws just as its mother demonstrated. Crunching through the rich chitin exoskeleton, the young cub devours its prize, absorbing an invaluable survival lesson in predatory dominance. Watching quietly, the battle-hardened mother rests her heavy head, satisfied that her legacy of unyielding courage is successfully passed on. As the sun reaches its zenith overhead, mother and cub ascend the higher granite shelves, patrolling their newly claimed rocky domain. Standing together atop the highest boulder, they look out across the boundless savanna, undisputed masters of their harsh and beautiful world. Under the blazing African sun, the indomitable spirit of the honey badger reigns supreme over the vast and wild savanna. As scorching midday heat peaks, the mother honey badger leaves the high rocks, heading toward a drying savanna waterhole. Cracked mud and shrinking murky pools bake under the blazing sun, drawing thirsty animals to the treacherous communal water source. Parched from hours of relentless activity, she approaches the water's edge, lowering her black muzzle to lap the cool liquid. Her tongue laps the murky surface, but her sharp senses remain fully alert to subtle ripples stirring beneath the water. Two unblinking armored eyes and raised nostrils slowly break the murky surface, belonging to a massive ambush predator. A 3-meter Nile crocodile erupts violently from the shallows, jaws gaping wide to snap the small mammal from the shore. Reacting with split-second agility, she leaps backward, the crocodile's massive jaws slamming shut with a bone-jarring clap on empty air. Landing firmly in the sticky mud, she flares her coarse silver mantle and roars directly into the reptilian predator's face. She bears sharp white canines, rattling an explosive war chuff that reverberates across the stunned waterhole bank. When the armored reptile lunges once more, she darts forward, slashing her heavy digging claws across its sensitive scaly snout. Her long curved claws strike the sensitive nostril ridges, delivering stinging pain that shocks the ancient river predator. Disoriented by the unexpected ferocity of the small mammal, the massive crocodile turns and slides backward into deeper water. The murky pool settles into silence as the reptile submerges, leaving the indomitable mother in complete command of the shore. Taking a deep, unhurried drink from the secured shallows, she quenches her thirst before turning back toward the high rocks. With her strength fully restored, she marches proudly away from the waterhole, ready to return to her protected cub. Returning from the waterhole, the mother honey badger approaches the granite kopje, immediately detecting an aggressive troop of baboons nearby. Perched above the den territory, a powerful alpha male chacma baboon barks aggressively, bearing formidable 2-inch canine fangs. Her black nostrils flare as she catches the pungent musk of the primates encroaching dangerously near her cub's den. Without hesitation, she charges straight up the steep granite shelves, her bristling silver mantle signaling an immediate, unyielding counterattack. Reaching the rock terrace, she confronts the 35-kilogram alpha baboon, who drops onto all fours with bared fangs. Lowering her heavy head, the mother badger releases an explosive, rattling war roar that echoes across the rocky slopes. The aggressive primate slaps the stone violently with both hands, lunging forward to intimidate the small armored carnivore. Completely unfazed by the display, she charges directly into the baboon's attack path, snapping her bone-crushing jaws. The baboon's long fangs graze her neck, but her rubbery hide twists freely, allowing her to snap back with lethal ferocity. She slashes forward with heavy curved digging claws, driving the startled 35-kilogram primate backward across the stone terrace. Screeching in alarmed distress, the alpha baboon scrambles hastily onto a high boulder, unwilling to risk crippling injuries. Following their defeated leader, the entire baboon troop flees across the high granite crests, completely abandoning the contested terrace. Returning to the den mouth, she emits a soft maternal chuff, and her small cub emerges safely into the sunlight. She lovingly grooms her cub's soft fur, reinforcing the unbreakable maternal bond that guarantees its survival in this ruthless land. Standing vigilant over her secure sanctuary, the fearless mother looks across the golden plains, ready for the coming evening trials. As the African sun dips low, casting crimson light across the savanna, she departs the den for an evening hunt. Moving through dry, thorny scrub at the base of the rocks, her keen black nose tracks an ominous chemical trail. Her nostrils flare deeply near a bed of dry acacia leaves, detecting the heavy musk of a dangerous ambush viper. Concealed beneath dry leaf litter, a massive puff adder lies coiled in wait, perfectly camouflaged in the fading sunset glow. The thick-bodied serpent inflates its ribbed lungs, releasing a loud, resonant warning hiss that cuts through the quiet evening air. Undeterred by the menacing warning, the mother honey badger drops low, flaring her silver mantle to confront the lethal viper. Two of the savanna's most formidable predators stare across the leaf litter, locked in a tense split-second standoff before the strike. With the fastest strike speed in the serpent world, the puff adder lunges forward, gaping jaws aimed straight at her. Flying on split-second reflexes, she twists her loose rubbery hide, dodging the lethal strike as fangs snap harmlessly on air. Before the heavy viper can recoil into striking position, she lunges in and pins its thick neck against the earth. Her bone-crushing jaws snap shut behind the serpent's broad triangular head, severing the cervical vertebrae with immense crushing force. A single violent headshake breaks the adder's spine, ending the rapid confrontation on the crimson sunlit earth below. She consumes the venomous viper steadily from the head down, absorbing vital fats and proteins for the coming cold night. Standing tall in the fading crimson twilight, she finishes her meal, completely immune to the potent cytotoxic venom within her prey. Securing a nutritious portion for her growing cub, she turns homeward as deep purple twilight settles over the African savanna. Under the silvery moon, the mother honey badger climbs the granite shelves, carrying fresh nourishment home to her waiting cub. She reaches the den entrance, delivering the food to her eager cub before standing vigilant guard over the moonlit threshold. The small cub eats hungrily in the secure shelter, while the mother's battle-tested senses remain acutely tuned to the night. Her black nostrils flare sharply against the cold breeze, detecting the heavy, musky scent of a prowling nocturnal scavenger nearby. A solitary brown hyena emerges from the shadows onto the rock terrace, its shaggy coat silhouetted against the starry sky. The massive scavenger bears powerful bone-cracking jaws, pointed ears cocked forward as it tests the boundary of the new den. Stepping instantly between the giant intruder and her hidden cub, the mother badger drops into an unyielding low-slung combat stance. She flares her coarse silver mantle into an intimidating crest, releasing a harsh, rattling war snarl that echoes across stone. The brown hyena lunges forward in an aggressive mock charge, attempting to intimidate the small defender from the high terrace. Unfazed by its 40-kilogram bulk, she charges explosively, snapping powerful jaws and unleashing a cloud of suffocating defensive musk. Overwhelmed by her ferocious retaliation and burning chemical musk, the shaggy predator recoils in sudden distress, shaking its heavy head. Realizing that this impenetrable fighter cannot be displaced, the solitary scavenger turns and retreats down the dark, rocky slope. Standing victorious on the high ledge, she rubs her flank against the sun-warmed stone, marking an indisputable territorial boundary. With the perimeter secured, she retreats into the warm, rocky crevice, curling her muscular body protectively around her sleeping offspring. Above the quiet rock den, the African night settles into peaceful stillness under the watchful glow of a billion stars. As golden dawn breaks over the granite kopje, the mother honey badger sets out across the morning savanna to hunt. She trots with continuous low-slung momentum through tall yellow grass, her sharp senses scanning for hidden prey in the scrub. Her wet black nostrils twitch near an acacia bush, catching the sharp chemical musk of a lethal reptilian apex predator. Coiled in low, thorny branches, an enormous 8-foot black mamba rests, its gunmetal gray scales glistening in the early morning sun. Sensing the approaching mustelid, the agile serpent glides smoothly down to the dusty earth with unmatched predatory speed and grace. The mamba rears high, opening its iconic inky black mouth in a terrifying threat display that warns of lethal neurotoxic venom. Dropping low onto all fours, the honey badger flares her coarse silver mantle, unflinching before the savanna's most feared snake. With blinding speed, the black mamba launches forward, its gaping black mouth and sharp fangs striking directly at her face. Flying on lightning reflexes, she twists her stocky body aside, the serpent's fangs grazing harmlessly across her thick, rubbery hide. Pivoting instantly inside her loose skin, she counterattacks with ferocious power, snapping her bone-crushing jaws toward the serpent's neck. The thrashing mamba strikes her shoulder, but her dense hide and mutated blood receptors neutralize the fast-acting neurotoxic venom instantly. Closing her iron jaws behind the mamba's coffin-shaped head, she crushes the cervical vertebrae with overwhelming, unstoppable biting force. A single violent headshake breaks the giant serpent's spine, ending the legendary duel on the sun-baked savanna earth. Without missing a beat, she devours the 8-foot mamba head first, replenishing vital energy reserves for her growing cub. Standing victorious in the bright morning sunlight, she turns homeward toward the rocky kopje, master of every savanna threat. Under the intense midday sun, the mother honey badger leads her eager cub toward an ancient acacia harboring massive communal weaver nests. She demonstrates the proper climbing stance, anchoring curved front claws into the furrowed bark, while her cub watches with keen curiosity. Scrambling vertically up the rough trunk, she pulls her heavy body upward, encouraging the young cub to follow her agile ascent. With determined effort, the small cub reaches the first bough, balancing clumsily on the broad branch high above the savanna floor. Ahead, on a sturdy horizontal branch, hangs a colossal thatched weaver nest, home to hundreds of chirping savanna birds. Her heavy claws tear effortlessly through the dense woven grass, unearthing hidden chambers filled with nutrient-rich eggs and young fledglings. She steps aside with an approving grunt, letting her cub feast on the high-protein reward suspended in the acacia canopy. A sharp rustle among the high leaves signals danger as a venomous tree snake emerges from the dense acacia foliage. The slender arboreal serpent expands its throat in a defensive threat display, its large emerald eyes tracking the young cub below. Intervening instantly, the mother honey badger positions her thick body across the branch, shielding her offspring with bared ivory canines. The venomous snake strikes downward with blinding speed, but the mother snaps her crushing jaws forward in a lightning counterattack. Clamping powerful jaws behind the serpent's head, she crushes its delicate skull, neutralizing the lethal canopy threat in a single bite. She drops the lifeless serpent onto the bow, allowing her cub to inspect another neutralized predator of the African wilderness. Having secured both food and safety, mother and cub scramble down the trunk, returning to the sunlit savanna floor below. Side by side, they march through the sun-drenched grove, their unbreakable bond forged stronger through another successful survival trial. Late afternoon sun paints the weathered termite mounds in rich amber as the mother badger leads her cub into new territory. She tracks a pungent chemical scent winding around a crumbling clay spire, signaling a venomous serpent sheltering within the earthen chimney. Her keen black nostrils flare against the dry clay, catching the sharp, acrid odor of defensive venom droplets drying on stone. Coiled deep inside a cracked clay chimney, a large Mozambique spitting cobra watches the intruder with wide, unblinking dark eyes. The cobra rears high, expanding its dark-ribbed hood and opening modified fangs designed to launch pressurized streams of blinding venom. Recognizing the spitting threat, she instantly positions her broad body in front of her cub, shielding it with bristling silver fur. With explosive force, the spitting cobra expels two pressurized twin streams of venom, spraying toxic droplets straight toward her face. Squinting her eyes behind thick protective brow ridges, she lets the venom splash harmlessly across her coarse, rubbery facial hide. Charging through the toxic mist without hesitation, she launches an aggressive lunge, closing the distance before the serpent can reload. Her heavy curved digging claws shatter the fragile clay chimney, pinning the thrashing spitting cobra securely against the hard earth. With iron jaw power, she clamps crushing molars behind the serpent's hood, severing its cervical vertebrae in a single bite. She drops the lifeless snake onto the dust, uttering a soft maternal chuff to summon her cub from the shelter. Together on the warm clay floor, mother and cub consume the protein-rich reptile, turning another lethal encounter into life-giving nourishment. She rolls vigorously in the dry red sand, rubbing off the dried venom residue from her indestructible silver-white coat. Standing together atop the earthen ridge as sunset burns crimson, mother and cub prepare for the final nocturnal trials ahead. Under a dark, starry sky, the mother badger guides her cub across the open moonlit plain, heading back toward the rocks. She freezes abruptly in the cold grass, her sensitive nostrils catching the heavy predatory scent of Africa's supreme apex carnivores. Stalking through the silvery grass, two powerful adult lionesses advance silently in the moonlight, their golden eyes locked on movement. Amber eyes gleam in the dark as the apex hunters calculate a silent ambush, testing the distance to their quarry. Sensing extreme peril, she swiftly herds her cub into a narrow granite crevice, sealing it safely behind heavy rock walls. Stepping out alone to intercept the pride, the mother honey badger flares her coarse silver mantle in explosive, fearless defiance. One small 10-kilogram badger stands defiantly against 300 kilograms of apex feline muscle on the open moonlit plain. A lioness delivers a massive claw swipe, but her thick, loose hide twists freely, deflecting the heavy blow without injury. Pivoting with furious speed, she launches a terrifying countercharge, snapping bone-crushing jaws directly toward the lioness's sensitive black nose. Deploying her potent anal scent gland in an aggressive spinning charge, she releases a suffocating cloud of defensive chemical musk. Overwhelmed by the blinding stench and relentless counterattacks, the giant cats recoil in shock, shaking their heavy-maned heads. Standing totally unyielding in the moonlight, her savage war roar reverberates across the plain, asserting that she will fight to death. Conceding that tackling the armored mother risks severe disabling injury, the two lionesses turn and retreat across the dark savanna. With the supreme threat cleared, she returns to the rock cleft, calling her safe cub out with gentle maternal chuffs. Side by side under the vast, starry expanse, mother and cub stand victorious over the savanna's greatest apex predators. In the quiet pre-dawn hours, the setting moon dips low, casting long silver shadows across the tranquil granite copy shelves. The mother honey badger leads her young cub along rocky fissures, teaching it to detect hidden nocturnal geckos sheltering in crevices. Mimicking its mother's precise movements, the cub wedges small front claws into a stone crack, unearthing its own subterranean prize. Crunching on a succulent bark gecko, the young badger relishes another successful hunt, absorbing essential survival skills for the future. Her scarred silver mantle glows in the fading moonlight, an enduring testament to a mother's fearless determination against all savanna odds. Side by side, they scramble down the granite slopes, moving steadily from the high rocks toward the boundless open plains below. Across the western horizon, the silver moon sets quietly as deep lavender and indigo tones announce the coming of dawn. She halts at the savanna border, black nostrils sampling the cool morning breeze for any lingering traces of nocturnal predators. Their paired paw prints mark the damp red earth, a poignant record of 24 hours of unbroken maternal protection and triumph. Beside a fallen acacia trunk, she gently grooms her cub's coat, cleaning away dried dust from their grueling nighttime battles. The tired cub nuzzles affectionately against its mother's thick neck, resting securely in the warmth of her impenetrable maternal embrace. Resuming their synchronized rolling stride, they march across the dewy grass, heading toward the heart of their vast home territory. The first pale golden light of dawn begins to ignite the eastern sky, gently erasing the twinkling blanket of midnight stars. Moving through tall golden grass illuminated by the morning glow, the young cub walks with newfound confidence beside its mother. Standing at the threshold of their home territory, mother and cub greet the emerging dawn, ready for a new day of life. The rising sun washes over the vast golden expanse of the Kalahari as mother and cub claim their rightful home territory. Full of newfound vigor and confidence, the young cub playfully nudges its mother, eager to begin another day of wild adventures. Her battle-hardened face carries the enduring scars of relentless survival, marks of a fearless mother who yielded to no savanna predator. With gentle precision, she unearths one final nutritious prize from the red clay, watching proudly as her cub consumes it eagerly. The small cub crunches through the fresh morsel, growing stronger with every meal secured by its mother's unyielding sacrifice and courage. Side by side, they march through swaying golden grass, an unbreakable duo forged through fire, venom, and 24 hours of combat. Across this harsh and beautiful wilderness, countless dangers lurk beneath every rock and behind every thorny bush in the dry landscape. Yet in the heart of the Kalahari, no creature commands more respect or strikes more terror than the fearless honey badger. For this devoted mother, every ferocious battle, every venomous strike, and every predator confrontation was fought for one sacred purpose. Her cub now carries the ancient spirit of its ancestors, ready to endure, adapt, and conquer this ruthless African wild world. Survival on the savanna is never a permanent victory, but an eternal contract earned through courage, resilience, and unyielding will. Together, they step boldly forward into the boundless golden plains, ready to confront whatever deadly trials the wild brings next. The legend of the indestructible mother honey badger echoes across the Kalahari, an enduring symbol of relentless parental devotion and strength. The wild tale of survival continues beneath the African sun, as the eternal circle of life turns once more in majesty. In the unforgiving wilderness, survival is not victory. It is only the hard-won permission to try again tomorrow. For a moment, survival hangs by a thread. To understand why a fierce warthog would risk its life sharing this moment with a tiny mongoose, for this warthog, the morning brings no peace. Its thick hide offers no protection against an invisible enemy: parasites. but the ones buried deep inside remain untouched, anchored firmly in its flesh. Exhausted, the giant can only endure. But nearby, a different kind of mourning is unfolding. Normally, they would avoid such a dangerous animal. But today, something is different. Instead of charging, the warthog does something completely unexpected. It surrenders. Seeing no sign of danger, the mongoose makes its move. A few seconds later, the rest of the family follows. What began as a risky encounter becomes one of nature's most remarkable partnerships. They immediately target the ears, where the largest ticks are hiding. For the first time in days, the constant itching begins to fade. Soon, every mongoose has found its own place. Some clean the neck, others inspect the deep folds of skin. Then another, and another. Places the warthog could never reach by itself. Even during the feast, they never drop their guard. One always watches the horizon. The mongooses use their sharp claws to part the coarse hair and expose the parasites. These are stubborn enemies, anchored deeply into the flesh. But the mongoose's teeth are precision tools. The warthog barely moves, enjoying a rare moment of peace in the savannah. It even trusts the tiny predators to work around its most sensitive areas. For the mongooses, this isn't a chore. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. They don't have to dig through hard soil or chase fast-moving insects. Every tick they remove is a meal waiting to be eaten. A concentrated packet of blood and protein. It is a perfect exchange. The warthog loses dangerous parasites. The mongoose firmly grips the engorged tick, pulling it free with a sharp tug, raising its head high, then swallowing it whole in. But nature rarely allows peaceful moments to last. Keep back. Danger. Move away. A sharp alarm call breaks the silence. Instantly, every mongoose jumps off. Seconds later, a lioness quietly walks across the very place they had been. She never realizes what happened just moments before she arrived. Deep sniffing. Once the danger has passed, the sentinel carefully scans the grassland again. Not long afterward, the mother warthog also steps out from the bushes. There is no hesitation this time. For several more minutes, the mongooses search for every last parasite. They are thorough. No fold is left unchecked. Every tick they remove brings the warthog closer to absolute relief. By the time they finish, the warthog is finally free from the parasites that had been torturing it. The mongooses, now with full bellies, have no more reason to stay. The giant, its strength restored, rises once more. There is no goodbye, no reward, and no expectation of meeting again. Yet this unlikely partnership has existed for thousands of years. Scientists call it mutualism. Two completely different animals, increasing each other's chances of survival. Sometimes, survival belongs not to the strongest animal, but to those willing to help one another. In the African wilderness, night is a time of fear and vulnerability. But tonight, the mother warthog rests easy. Deep underground, the mongoose family digests their rich meal, safe from predators. When dawn breaks, the true value of yesterday's encounter becomes clear. Without hundreds of parasites draining her blood, the inflammation subsides. The constant irritation is gone. She has the energy to forage, run, and protect her young. Today, they return to their usual hunt, digging through the hard soil for scorpions and beetles. But whenever they see the giant, they know an easy meal is waiting. And the warthog will always welcome the tiny hunters. A silent pact, renewed day after day. In a world where every creature is fighting a brutal battle to survive, we witness a land untouched by time. Hands. These two unlikely allies have found a way to win together. Each one swells with the badger's blood. Unchallenged. Untouchable. The African savanna is unforgiving. Survival here requires armor and attitude. The honey badger fears nothing, not lions, not venomous snakes, but it has a weakness. The badger presses its ear hard into the bark, but the ticks don't fall off. It stops momentarily, panting, before resuming the aggressive rubbing. Then, spectators arrive, a pack of banded mongooses,
They chatter amongst themselves.
preparing to approach. The badger is covered in a feast of parasites. Will it accept the help? But the honey badger does not want friends. It does not want help. To the badger, the mongoose is not a cleaner. It is a rival. A new day on the savannah. For the honey badger, there is no rest. The parasites have been feeding all night. They are permanently locked in. Its skin is legendary, thick, rubbery, and incredibly loose. But this same armor creates deep, warm pockets. A perfect, untouchable nursery for parasites. Without a cleaner, the badger must rely on its own tools. But its massive claws are built for excavating hard earth, cracking bone. The badger cannot win this war. It must simply endure. It channels its endless irritation into the hunt. A venomous scorpion. A deadly prize, crushed in an instant. Yet, this fearless killer is slowly being drained by an enemy it cannot fight. By midday, the heat becomes unbearable, and the parasites grow bolder. They drain its energy drop by drop. The itch is a constant torture. Each one swells with the badger's blood, unchallenged, untouchable. Suddenly, a deadly threat appears. A highly venomous cobra. It strikes with lethal venom. But the badger's thick, rubbery armor absorbs the blow. Even after a meal, there is no peace. The itching returns. Desperate, it seeks another way to suffocate the enemy. A shrinking mud hole, the badger's last resort. It coats its thick skin in a suffocating layer of wet earth. For a moment, the biting stops. The parasites are trapped under the heavy sludge. But mud dries, and when it flakes away, the enemy will still be there. The illusion of relief crumbles away. It shakes off the heavy dust, only to find the enemy waiting. They survived the heat. They survived the mud. They continue to feed. This is the true cost of extreme independence. A slow, agonizing drain on its strength. In the wild, refusing a partnership means fighting every battle alone. Even the strongest warrior has limits. While the badger weakens, the parasites grow stronger, fattening themselves on its blood. Driven mad by the itch, it tries one last, violent solution. But the deep folds of its legendary armor protect the parasites perfectly. The badger fears nothing it can fight. But it cannot fight this. As the sun sets, it continues its lonely march. With the new sun, the cycle repeats. The myth says these mongooses are its friends, its helpers. But it also traps the enemy within. It fights a war it can never win, using only brute force. By choosing to fight the world alone, it must carry its heaviest burden, forever. The fearless honey badger needs no friends, but it pays the price in blood. Where strength is everything, and mercy does not exist. In the African savanna, death arrives in complete silence. A giant warthog rests in the dry grass, completely unaware of the approaching shadow. But the warthog is not alone. Its tiny sentinel spots the predator and lets out a piercing alarm. The element of surprise is entirely gone. Reluctantly, the predator retreats into the thicket, seeking an easier meal. A life saved in a matter of seconds, thanks to this living radar system. But in the wild, an early warning service is never free. The warthog flops back onto the ground, rolling over to expose its vulnerable belly and face. Time for lunch.
These are big ones.
Hurry before the others get them. The warthog's thick skin is heavily infested with blood-bloated ticks, a torment it cannot cure alone. The mongoose dives fearlessly into the thick folds of skin. The entire striped squad rushes in like a mini-storm onto the warthog's giant body. These blood-bloated parasites are dug deep into the toughest creases. And for the mongoose, they are like delicious boba milk tea. A protein-packed snack, harvested using 100% natural biotechnology. Here, in the dark, the thickest and oldest parasites hide. With precision, the mongoose grips the swollen target. Wet pop therm. No narration. No voice. This is a win-win deal, shaped by evolution itself. Food for the tiny, health and comfort for the giant. A perfect symbiotic bond. Or is it really that simple? These organic spa employees have another, darker motive. A small open wound is not something to heal. It is something to exploit. Sometimes they lick the fresh blood, keeping the wound open longer than it should be. They will even peel away scabs and dead skin to get to what lies beneath. The relentless sun illuminates the savanna, where a partnership of survival plays out. Even the most hidden parasites cannot escape this dedicated squad. One by one, the invaders are forcefully evicted. Turned into immediate energy for the tireless workers. Slowly but surely, the hideous clusters vanish. The thick skin is finally allowed to breathe. The giant shakes off the dust, feeling lighter, healthier, and free of the constant itch. As the silver moonlight begins to illuminate the night, the savanna changes completely.
Night falls over the African savanna.
Dangerous predators begin their nocturnal hunt under the cover of darkness. But their giant client does not abandon them when the shift is over. Absolute trust between these two species is something that cannot be bought. They survive the harsh darkness together, waiting for a new dawn. Sunrise glows brilliantly, scattering the morning mist over the green meadows. The giant stretches, happily welcoming the early sunlight, completely free of parasites. And now, a new generation joins the alliance. Tiny warthog piglets explore the wet grass to meet the young mongooses for their very first diplomatic meetings. A new symbiotic contract is signed, ready to be passed down through generations. The savanna is like a grand symphony, where each species plays its own unique instrument. With the lead mongoose on his back acting as a navigator, it is a perfect blend of muscular strength and tiny genius. This plane assigns a duty to each species to complete nature's puzzle. Plovers clean crocodile teeth. When you have great teammates by your side, even enemies back down early. Learn to live in harmony with the world, just like the warthog does. A warm look of trust, and a belly that is always full. Wildlife teaches us that no help is too small, and no giant is truly invulnerable. Helping others heal is sometimes the best way to find your own path to survive. And in this wild spa, everyone is equal before great, nurturing nature. Thank you for visiting the Wild Plains Spa today. We hope this story brought you some relaxation. See you again in the next amazing alliances of the vast natural world. Draining its energy drop by drop. Even for the fearless honey badger. The thick skin offers no protection here. but hundreds more remain tightly locked on. Draining its energy drop by drop. The fierce predator is completely helpless. Suddenly, the dry grass begins to rustle. A pack of dwarf mongooses spots an opportunity. They have found a moving feast. In an unlikely alliance, a dwarf mongoose takes a fearless leap. It is a delicate ritual. The tiny groomer searches for parasites. The badger remains completely relaxed during the process. A massive, sleeping giant becomes a feast for tiny opportunists. These engorged ticks are a prize worth the effort. A rich, blood-filled meal, perfectly served. One less parasite draining its strength. But several more are still to be found. Another massive tick has reached its limit. A satisfying release for the giant. In a rare moment of cooperation, these tiny groomers continue their work. They focus on the deepest creases of the thick skin. Here, the most stubborn parasites hide. The honey badger cooperatively lifts its front leg to give the cleaners access to its armpit. The tiny groomers immediately rush to the new feeding ground. It is swallowed in an instant. For the badger, it is pure relief. And the feast continues. But in the wild, survival is rarely a simple story. This partnership has a darker side. The massive ticks are gone, but the tiny groomers have not left. They are drawn to the small, open wounds left behind. The mongoose uses its rough tongue to lap up the remaining bodily fluids. Sometimes they even nibble on the raw skin and scabs. It is a painful reminder. Sometimes, the line between mutualism and parasitism is blurred. Yet, the honey badger does not seem to mind. Its thick skin can withstand far worse. For the badger, the price of a few scratches is well worth the relief. With their bellies full, the tiny opportunists disappear into the grass. Plagued by parasites one moment. Then instantly revitalized the next. Its thick coat is now clean and healthy. It emerges with a pristine coat, ready to face the wilderness anew. But the alliance does not end here. Death comes quickly from above. But for these mongooses, they find safety in the shadow of a monster. Few predators are foolish enough to attack a honey badger. Under its protection, they are completely safe. In nature, survival is not always built on conflict. Sometimes it depends on unlikely alliances. Dawn on the African savanna. A honey badger is already hard at work. He is hungry. He needs a catch. But today, every opportunity slips away. He pushes deep into thorny bushes. Branches are snapping. He digs into dry termite mounds and dark burrows. Every failed hunt takes a toll. The dust and thorns hide a silent enemy. Ticks. Hundreds of them. They cluster tightly where he cannot reach. He scratches. He rubs his face in the dirt. But it is useless. The parasites hold firm, draining his limited energy. The midday sun is unforgiving. Exhausted, starved, and plagued by parasites, he finally surrenders. His worst hunting day has broken his spirit. But in nature, help sometimes comes from unexpected places. But he is not entirely alone. Usually, a honey badger is a terrifying predator. But today, he is exhausted. And he is a giant buffet. He offers no resistance. The pack moves in. One sharp tug, and the heavy burden is removed. Soon, the entire pack swarms his head and back. They continuously sniff and bite at the skin while the badger lies perfectly still. They target the most sensitive areas. Watch the extraction now. A highly nutritious meal for the mongoose and pure relief for the badger. Under their fast, sharp teeth, the itching finally stops. One by one, the heavy parasites are plucked away. It is a perfect partnership. For now, a strange peace settles over the savanna. But in the wild, nothing is truly free. The banded mongooses are highly efficient hunters, diligently searching the honey badger's fur. They comb through the thickest fur, reaching places the badger cannot. Even the deepest parasites cannot hide. A firm grip, snap. And the tick is gone. They clean deep inside the ear folds, where the parasites cluster thickest. The heavy burden is finally lifting. Every member of the pack gets a meal. Every bite brings relief. But these small predators are always hungry for more. And nature is rarely a perfect fairy tale. They are not here to heal him. They are simply taking whatever food they can find. Low growl. If that includes tearing at raw flesh and scabs, they will not hesitate. But he is too weak to fight back. He must endure the pain to be clean. For the mongooses, this is not a rescue mission. It is simply a feast. They find the last few parasites hiding in the most painful places. A sharp bite. final burden is lifted. The badger does not move. The pain of a small bite is nothing compared to the agony he has escaped. Eventually, the buffet runs empty. With no more parasites to eat, their strange alliance ends. They disappear back into the brush as quickly as they arrived. The great hunter is alone once again. He opens his eyes. The maddening itch is gone. Sure. His body, he shakes off the dust of defeat. The hunt may have ended in failure, but he has survived another day. The savannah is a brutal arena. It takes constantly, giving nothing back easily. For the honey badger, today was a cascade of failures. But survival is not always about winning every battle. Sometimes it is simply about enduring until help arrives. The banded mongooses did not act out of kindness. They saw an opportunity, a vulnerable giant, and they took what they needed. In doing so, they provided a service the badger could not perform himself. This is the harsh, transactional nature of the wild. Every creature must find a way to balance the scales. As darkness falls, his energy begins to return. The maddening itch is gone. The heavy burden has been lifted. He will rest tonight, healing from the bites and the scratches. And the great hunter will begin anew, ready to face whatever the savannah brings. With powerful jaws and relentless brute strength, she violently wrenches the massive structure free from the baobab branch. With a sharp bark of command, he leads 20 agile baboons down the steep granite rocks, cutting off the plain. Dawn breaks over the dry African savanna, casting long golden shadows across a quiet stretch of cracked earth. From beneath a granite boulder, an experienced mother honey badger emerges into the crisp morning air, testing every scent. Behind her, a small 3-month-old cub steps into the light, completely dependent on his mother for survival. Her scarred shoulder tells the story of past battles, but today, her only mission is finding food. The cub stays close, unaware of the predators that constantly patrol these open, sun-baked grasslands. Together, they set off across the dry plains, moving steadily toward the rocky outcrops in search of prey. With powerful front claws, the mother tears into the hardened soil, uncovering hidden beetle larvae beneath the surface. The young cub mimics her every move, clumsily scratching at the dirt to learn the art of digging. She unearths a fat scorpion, deftly neutralizing its venomous sting before offering the meal to her hungry offspring. As morning warms the dry riverbed, the mother leads her cub deeper into the thorny scrubland. Every shadow in this harsh landscape can conceal a threat, demanding constant vigilance from the solitary mother. Her sharp black eyes scan the horizon, reading the subtle shifts in wind and rising dust. Suddenly, a harsh, echoing bark breaks the morning silence from the high, rocky ridge ahead. The mother freezes instantly, her torn ear twitching as the aggressive calls of a baboon troop multiply. Out in the open with her vulnerable cub, she realizes they have walked straight toward enemy territory. High above the riverbed, the troop's dominant alpha male stands atop a sun-warmed boulder, watching the intruders with cold, calculating eyes. With a jagged scar across his muzzle and lethal 5-centimeter canines, he rules this rocky territory with ruthless aggression. With a sharp bark of command, he leads 20 agile baboons down the steep granite rocks, cutting off the plain. Down in the dry channel, the mother badger senses the trap forming and immediately pushes her cub into a dense thorn thicket. The young cub cowers beneath tangled acacia branches, feeling the ground tremble beneath the swift descent of approaching primates. She positions her compact body at the entrance, ready to defend the narrow opening with every ounce of her legendary ferocity. The massive alpha steps onto the pale sand, violently slapping the earth to intimidate the small mustelids standing before him. Flanking baboons leap into surrounding bushes, screeching and violently shaking branches to sow panic and flush the hidden cub out. The mother honey badger does not flinch, baring sharp teeth and letting out a harsh, rattling hiss that echoes through the canyon. When the alpha makes a mock charge, she explodes forward with fearless fury, forcing the much larger primate to leap back. Her courage buys time, but glancing back, she sees 3 agile baboons already circling behind them, blocking the route home. The cub desperately tries to dig into the hardened riverbed, but the baked clay refuses to yield an escape route. Spinning on loose, rubbery skin, she snaps at every darting shadow, refusing to let any baboon get behind her defense. Realizing the thicket is a deadly trap, the mother makes a daring choice, pushing her cub forward into the open, sunlit basin. With the entire troop bounding along the rocky ridges above them, mother and cub sprint toward an isolated dead baobab tree. Mother and cub reach the base of the dead baobab tree, finding temporary refuge beside its massive, weathered roots. She immediately nudges the exhausted cub into a deep, hollow crevice between 2 roots, shielding him from grabbing hands. Planting her stocky frame at the crevice entrance, she turns to face the open ground with unwavering resolve. The scarred alpha male strides into the clearing, flanked by 2 aggressive subadults ready to enforce their numerical superiority. Within moments, 18 baboons form a tight semicircle around the baobab, cutting off every possible escape across the plain. The alpha lunges with an ear-splitting bark, but the mother lunges right back, snapping jaws inches from his face. Her thick, rubbery skin protects her from glancing blows, yet she knows brute force alone cannot save her cub. Frustrated by her unyielding defense, the alpha violently rips dry branches, daring his troop to close the gap. A second baboon darts from the left flank, forcing the mother to spin and lash out with razor-sharp claws. Trapped against the trunk, she glances upward toward the heavy branches, searching for any possible tactical advantage above. Hanging directly beneath the lowest limb is a massive wild beehive, pulsing with the angry hum of 10,000 bees. To any other animal, this swarm is fatal poison, but to a thick-skinned honey badger, it is the ultimate weapon. She turns back to tuck her cub deeper into the enclosed root hollow, ensuring total protection before making her move. Digging curved front claws into rough baobab bark, the mother begins a swift and fearless ascent up the trunk. Below, the arrogant baboons watch in stunned silence as their prey climbs straight toward the most dangerous nest in Africa. High on the horizontal limb, the mother honey badger crawls directly above the pulsing wild hive, positioning her heavy claws. Furious guard bees instantly swarm her face and body, but their venomous stingers cannot pierce her thick, rubbery skin. Ignoring the cloud of insects, she sinks her curved, digging claws deep into the fragile wax base anchoring the hive. With powerful jaws and relentless brute strength, she violently wrenches the massive structure free from the baobab branch. The heavy, dark honeycomb tears loose, plummeting through the air straight toward the arrogant troop gathered below. The hive crashes onto the hard earth, shattering into golden fragments right in the center of the baboon circle. Instantly, a dark, living cloud of 10,000 enraged African bees erupts into the warm afternoon air. The alpha male shrieks in agony as hundreds of sharp stingers pierce his sensitive eyelids, nose, and exposed ears. Panic consumes the entire troop as aggressive bees swarm into their coarse fur, turning their arrogant siege into total pandemonium. Overwhelmed by relentless burning pain, the scarred alpha breaks ranks and flees wildly across the dry savanna floor. The entire troop scatters in sheer terror, completely abandoning their hunt as the cloud of bees pursues them relentlessly. Inside the sheltered root hollow, the safe cub watches in amazement as their dangerous enemies vanish across the plains. High above the clearing, the mother badger begins her steady descent, casually shaking stinging bees from her silver mantle. Her paws touch the dusty ground amidst scattered golden combs, totally unharmed by the chaos she unleashed. She returns to the root crevice to call out her cub, claiming victory over the baobab tree. The young cub eagerly buries his muzzle into the sweet honeycomb, tasting rich honey and nutrient-dense larvae for the first time. For the mother, this energy-rich meal replenishes vital strength lost during hours of relentless defense and daring tactical maneuvering. Side by side, they eat undisturbed under the darkening sky, surrounded by the remnants of the hive that saved them. Licking sticky honey from her powerful forepaws, she remains alert, testing the cooling air for any new nocturnal predators. With a full belly and sticky whiskers, the young cub stands taller, carrying newfound confidence from his first great survival test. The feast is over, and with darkness gathering quickly, the mother nudges her offspring to begin the long journey home. She leads him across the open plains, setting a steady pace beneath a dramatic sky painted in deep crimson and violet. Walking close beside his mother, the cub mirrors her steady posture, no longer stumbling over dry roots or loose stones. In this unforgiving land, true power is not measured by size, but by the courage to face impossible odds. Today, the cub witnessed how cunning and tenacity can overcome an entire troop of the savanna's most aggressive primates. As night settles across the plains, they finally arrive back at the secure shelter of their granite boulder burrow. The exhausted cub slips deep into the cool underground nest, ready to sleep safely after a day of extraordinary trials. Standing guard at the entrance, the mother casts one last watchful look over the dark plains that tried to break them. Survival in this wild land is not victory. It is only permission to wake up and try again tomorrow. A peaceful riverbank shatters. A mother's worst nightmare, met with unthinkable fury. The Nile crocodile is a prehistoric giant. The honey badger knows no fear. Claws running. Hiss. Every instinct screams to run. only goal: buy time for her baby. The crocodile's jaws hold crushing power. The giant pauses, stunned by the sheer violence of the tiny mammal. Just moments before the chaos, this riverbank was deadly quiet. For the young cub, the world is just a playground of new scents. In Africa, still water is a lie. Beneath the surface hides the ultimate ambush predator, the Nile crocodile. Over 1,000 pounds of muscle glides forward without making a single ripple. For one brief second, the mother turns away to investigate a root. That is all the apex predator needs. The river seems to hold its breath. Her instincts scream. And the trap is sprung. Jaws lined with daggers snap shut. But a honey badger mother does not accept defeat. She targets the only vulnerable spots, the eyes and the soft throat. Unable to endure the relentless attack, the jaws open. Battered but alive.
You will not touch my cub.
Leave the cub alone. She doesn't just defend, she attacks. Every second she fights buys the cub another foot of ground. The crocodile lunges again, its jaws capable of crushing a zebra's leg. It catches her back, but the honey badger has an evolutionary trick: incredibly loose, thick skin. She twists inside her own hide and bites back with bone-crushing force. The apex predator is forced to back down. The mother has won the round. Her distraction worked. The cub reaches the safety of the thorn bush. But in these waters, a struggle never goes unnoticed. The splashing has sent out a dinner bell. The violent disturbance has drawn the rest of the river's giants. Nile crocodiles often gather in large numbers to steal a meal. But a honey badger does not know how to surrender. The first strike comes fast. She meets it with claws and teeth. Again, her loose, rubbery skin saves her, allowing her to turn inside her own hide. She bites the softest tissues she can find, forcing them to release. They do not expect their prey to fight back with such insanity. Instead of retreating, she advances. The giants calculate the cost, and they reconsider. Slowly, the river reclaims its secrets. The monsters slip back into the dark. Then, she hears what she fought so hard to protect. "Help! I'm stuck! Where are you?" She doesn't hesitate for a second. "Time to get you out of here, little one." She immediately checks every inch of her baby, licking away the mud and the fear. It is time to move to higher, safer ground. To survive in this unforgiving world, you must be strong. But more than strength, you must have the will to protect what is yours, against any odds. Back at the river, the mud will soon wash away. And the giants will wait, hidden in the dark, for the next unwary step. In the wild, there are no guarantees, only the relentless will to survive. The dry soil erupts in dust. Thud. Scuffling dirt, and a lioness strikes hard. Her target is small, but built for war. The honey badger does not run. It turns and faces the giant. And armed with a fearless instinct. The lioness strikes again. Low, rumbling growl. But each attack meets a sharp, snapping bite. A fast turn. A brutal counter. Rattle, growl. Size creates an advantage in the wild. But relentless aggression can shift the balance. Roar! A determined honey badger forces even apex predators to hesitate. The lioness circles, searching for a weak point. Patience ends. The lioness lunges. The predator gives chase. Her strides are massive. But speed is not the only weapon. Agility matters. The lioness must crash through what the badger slips beneath. Every muscle works. Every breath counts. The lioness is closing the distance. A rocky slope offers the only escape. It must reach the den. A split second is the difference between life and death. Safe inside the narrow den, the badger holds its ground. The giant is locked out. Her paws cannot penetrate the unyielding stone. Brute strength means nothing against solid rock. Finally, the lioness turns away. The battle is over. It requires food. Sharp instincts and a powerful sense of smell lead the way. Across the dry soil and rocky ground, the badger readies its formidable claws. The badger relies on brute force. Nothing stays hidden for long. A small meal to restore energy. The incredibly thick, loose skin acts as living armor. Every grassy clearing presents new risks. A shadow moves within the grass. But the honey badger does not run. Another lioness, hungry and aggressive. Conflict in the wild can begin without warning. She attacks instantly. But defensive instinct changes the encounter. Survival means knowing when to defend and when to attack. Toughness, rapid reactions, and the refusal to give up. It does not hold position. It moves forward. The relentless badger continues its march. The massive lioness takes hesitant steps, forced to create distance. The badger holds the clearing alone. Some animals survive through cooperation. Others depend on toughness and a refusal to back down. Nature rewards adaptability. For this small carnivore,
In the fading light, another animal settles down to rest after a long day.
tomorrow, the cycle of the wild continues. But tonight, it rests, undefeated. A honey badger is tearing apart a fortress. Thousands of furious bees launch a full-scale assault on the intruder. Yet, the most fascinating part of this scene is not the beast. It is this tiny spectator. The Greater Honey Guide. But why is the bird here? But why is the bird here? This is no coincidence. It is a highly calculated alliance. To understand how this bizarre friendship works, every great heist begins with a scout gathering intel. The Greater Honey Guide has a built-in GPS to locate hidden beehives. She knows exactly where the golden treasure is hidden. Soft chirp. But she has a major problem. Her tiny beak cannot break through solid wood. Tap, tap, tap on wood. To crack this vault open, she needs to hire some heavy machinery. Chirp, 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 chirp. A call that only one creature in the savannah truly understands. They strike an unspoken deal. A contract forged by evolution. The bird will provide the map. The badger will provide the muscle. As soon as he hears the signal, the badger starts his purposeful trot. The bird flies a short distance ahead and lands to wait. Constantly checking back over her shoulder, making sure her slow-moving tank is keeping up. It is a masterclass in strategic alliance. He has no idea where he is going. Come. Look, the honey is here. He pushes through thorns and scrambles over rocks. Finally, they arrive. The bird stops and points its beak toward an old, hollow trunk. The mussel has arrived. The mussel has arrived. He smells the sugar. The mother lode is right inside. He makes his first move. But the homeowners are not thrilled today. Thousands of bees launch a full-scale airstrike. But the badger doesn't even flinch. He just keeps pushing forward, using his jaws and claws like sharpened shovels. His skin is like bulletproof rubber, almost entirely immune to these tiny pests. Check out that face, totally unbothered. He is sacrificing his ego for a massive calorie boost. Keep digging. Deeper. You've almost reached the nest. Don't stop now. Finally, every scratch and tear pays off. Any bear in the forest would turn green with envy. Now, the heavy machinery has done its job. After gorging himself, the badger finally waddles away, completely stuffed. She grabs the leftover wax and a gourmet buffet of bee larvae. A perfect win-win situation. Nobody had to fight to the death to get a good meal. You see, in the wild, survival of the fittest isn't always about being the meanest. But man, look at our badger friend. He has clearly slipped into a major food coma. Mother Nature is truly the greatest director, writing scripts we couldn't even dream up. It is the rhythm of the savannah, a survival dance that has been playing for 1,000,000 years. Because even the toughest creatures on Earth know that peace and partnership beat war every time. See you next time. In the African savanna, death arrives in complete silence. A giant warthog rests in the dry grass, completely unaware of the approaching shadow. But the warthog is not alone. Its tiny sentinel spots the predator and lets out a piercing alarm. The element of surprise is entirely gone. Reluctantly, the predator retreats into the thicket, seeking an easier meal. A life saved in a matter of seconds, thanks to this living radar system. But in the wild, an early warning service is never free. The warthog flops back onto the ground, rolling over to expose its vulnerable belly and face. Time for lunch.
These are big ones.
Hurry before the others get them. The warthog's thick skin is heavily infested with blood-bloated ticks, a torment it cannot cure alone. The mongoose dives fearlessly into the thick folds of skin. The entire striped squad rushes in like a mini-storm onto the warthog's giant body. These blood-bloated parasites are dug deep into the toughest creases. And for the mongoose, they are like delicious boba milk tea. A protein-packed snack, harvested using 100% natural biotechnology. Here, in the dark, the thickest and oldest parasites hide. With precision, the mongoose grips the swollen target. Wet pop therm. No narration, no voice. This is a win-win deal shaped by evolution itself. Food for the tiny, health and comfort for the giant. A perfect symbiotic bond. Or is it really that simple? These organic spa employees have another, darker motive. A small open wound is not something to heal. It is something to exploit. Sometimes they lick the fresh blood, keeping the wound open longer than it should be. They will even peel away scabs and dead skin to get to what lies beneath. The relentless sun illuminates the savanna, where a partnership of survival plays out. Even the most hidden parasites cannot escape this dedicated squad. One by one, the invaders are forcefully evicted. Turned into immediate energy for the tireless workers. Slowly but surely, the hideous clusters vanish. The thick skin is finally allowed to breathe. The giant shakes off the dust, feeling lighter, healthier, and free of the constant itch. As the silver moonlight begins to illuminate the night, the savanna changes completely. Night falls over the African savanna. Dangerous predators begin their nocturnal hunt under the cover of darkness. But their giant client does not abandon them when the shift is over. Absolute trust between these two species is something that cannot be bought. They survive the harsh darkness together, waiting for a new dawn. Sunrise glows brilliantly, scattering the morning mist over the green meadows. The giant stretches, happily welcoming the early sunlight, completely free of parasites. And now, a new generation joins the alliance. Tiny warthog piglets explore the wet grass to meet the young mongooses for their very first diplomatic meetings. A new symbiotic contract is signed, ready to be passed down through generations. The savanna is like a grand symphony, where each species plays its own unique instrument. With the lead mongoose on his back acting as a navigator, it is a perfect blend of muscular strength and tiny genius. This plane assigns a duty to each species to complete nature's puzzle. Plovers clean crocodile teeth. When you have great teammates by your side, even enemies back down early. Learn to live in harmony with the world, just like the warthog does. A warm look of trust, and a belly that is always full. Wildlife teaches us that no help is too small, and no giant is truly invulnerable. Helping others heal is sometimes the best way to find your own path to survive. And in this wild spa, everyone is equal before great, nurturing nature. Thank you for visiting the Wild Plains Spa today. We hope this story brought you some relaxation. See you again in the next amazing alliances of the vast natural world. Across the scorched expanse of the Kalahari Savannah, dawn breaks cold. A lone mother honey badger emerges. Deep inside the underground den, her vulnerable single cub waits in total darkness. If she fails to find food today, both will starve. Her keen black nose twitches rapidly against the crisp morning breeze, sifting through microscopic scent trails across hundreds of dry yards. She steps out onto the open dust plain, moving with an unmistakable low-slung rolling trot that signals absolute fearlessness to watching eyes. Every predator in this harsh ecosystem recognizes her unmistakable silver mantle, an ancient warning sign etched across the dry African landscape. Heavy curved front claws scrape the hard-baked earth, specialized tools honed for ripping into underground nests and tearing through rock-hard termite mounds. She approaches a rocky outcrop scattered with fallen deadwood, the prime hunting ground for hidden reptiles and venomous scorpions seeking morning warmth. A sudden rustle beneath a hollow log catches her attention. Her muscular shoulders bunch tightly as she prepares for the first strike. With explosive strength, she wedges her powerful forelimbs under the decayed bark, ripping the heavy timber aside in an instant. A large, thick-tailed scorpion raises its venomous stinger defensively, but the honey badger snaps forward without a fraction of hesitation. The scorpion's potent sting glances harmlessly off her thick, rubbery hide as she crunches through the armored prey in mere seconds. One scorpion is barely a mouthful. Her caloric demands are extreme, and her cub's survival depends on securing substantially larger meals. She continues moving east across the sun-drenched flats, her low profile slicing through tall golden grass with tireless mechanical endurance. She freezes mid-stride. A faint scent carried on the warming air heralds an enormous prize and an equally lethal challenge. On the distant horizon stands the towering silhouette of an ancient baobab, where thousands of wild bees guard their liquid gold. Undeterred by the mounting swarm of defensive bees, the honey badger charges straight toward the base of the massive baobab trunk. Her thick claws bite deeply into the rough-grooved bark as she climbs effortlessly upward toward the buzzing tree hollow. Hundreds of furious African honeybees swarm her eyes and ears, launching thousands of venomous stings against her thick mantle. Her loose rubbery skin acts as an impenetrable shield, absorbing countless painful stings without slowing her relentless advance into the nest. Reaching the hollow entrance, she thrusts both forepaws deep inside, ripping away thick slabs of golden honeycomb dripping with rich larvae. She gorges ravenously on the protein-rich bee brood and sweet wax, ignoring the cloud of insects stinging her coarse black snout. Satisfied and buzzing with raw energy, she scrambles down the baobab trunk and drops heavily back onto the dusty savanna floor. She vigorously rolls in the dry dust to dislodge the remaining bees, her tough coat completely unharmed by the intense assault. The morning sun climbs higher into the pale sky as she presses forward across the scrubland in search of denser calories. Entering a labyrinth of sun-warmed calcrete boulders, she immediately catches the pungent musk of a large reptile basking on the rocks. She tracks the fresh scent trail along narrow stone crevices, her sharp claws clicking rhythmically against the sun-baked granite slabs. A heavily armored rock monitor lizard detects her approach, whipping its powerful muscular tail and hissing a deep, resonant warning. The monitor inflates its throat with air to look twice its size, but the honey badger simply lowers her heavy head. The monitor lashes its thick tail like a whip, yet she lunges under the strike to clamp her iron jaws shut. With brutal efficiency, she pins the struggling reptile beneath her heavy forepaws, securing a vital, nutrient-rich prize for the long day. Leaving the rocky copy behind, she marches relentlessly toward the scorching red sand dunes, where deadly heat waves shimmer under midday sun. Her heavy paws leave deep imprints in the burning orange sand, with thick pads fully hardened against scorching desert ground. Bleached camelthorn bushes cast sharp black shadows across the sand, creating an ideal ambush maze for predators sheltering from the heat. Her keen nose dips low, catching the sharp, unmistakable chemical musk of a large venomous reptile recently crossing the dune ridge. Fresh serpentine tracks cut a distinct winding S-shaped groove through the soft red sand, leading straight toward a dense, thorny thicket. Without a moment of hesitation, she locks onto the fresh scent trail, lowering her muscular shoulders to pursue the lethal quarry. She pushes directly into the tangled web of bleaching thorn roots, completely unbothered by the razor-sharp spines scraping against her hide. A sharp, dry rustle erupts from beneath a hollow camelthorn root, signaling that her quarry has detected her rapid approach. Her dark eyes narrow with ferocious predatory focus, recognizing the lethal nature of the subterranean adversary waiting in the deep shadows. A flash of bright yellowish-golden scales glides smoothly across the red sand, slipping out into an open defensive striking circle. The honey badger bursts through the thorny barrier with aggressive speed, cutting off any possible avenue of escape for the serpent. Cornered, a massive Cape cobra rears its upper body a meter into the air, spreading its broad golden hood defensively. Two of Africa's most fearless desert hunters now stand face-to-face on the burning sand, locked in an ancient predatory duel. The cobra displays a healed scar across its flared hood, hissing with explosive force while tracking every twitch of the badger. Dropping low to the ground, the honey badger begins a calculated circle, preparing to step directly into the lethal strike zone. She darts forward with sudden speed, baiting the cobra into striking early before its defensive hood can fully align. The Cape cobra launches a lightning-fast forward strike, fangs flashing in the midday sun, snapping shut mere inches above the sand. Using her loose rubbery skin to absorb the near miss, she pivots instantly, slipping beneath the serpent's flared golden hood. The cobra whips back and delivers a rapid defensive bite to her cheek, injecting lethal neurotoxin into her dense facial tissue. Ignoring the venomous puncture, she clamps powerful jaws onto the back of the cobra's head, crushing the vertebrae with iron force. A single violent headshake breaks the serpent's spine, ending the ferocious duel on the scorching red sand of the savannah. The battle is won, but the cobra's potent neurotoxin now courses rapidly through her bloodstream, attacking her central nervous system. Her muscular legs buckle under the toxic onslaught, and she slumps heavily onto the warm orange sand, sinking into unconsciousness. Lying motionless beside the dead cobra, specialized biological mutations in her blood receptors begin neutralizing the lethal cobra venom proteins. For 2 hours beneath the blazing African sun, the savannah falls dead silent as her miraculous internal antidote does its work. A sudden twitch of her black whiskers breaks the stillness, her dark eyes flickering open as consciousness surges back into life. Rising steadily to all 4 feet, she violently shakes the red dust from her silver coat, completely revitalized and unharmed. Without missing a beat, she begins devouring the neutralized Cape Cobra, consuming the venomous reptile headfirst for essential survival calories. With her belly full of protein and her strength restored, she resumes her march toward the rocky savanna outcrops ahead. Approaching the sun-drenched granite kopje, a new predatory shadow watches from above, guarding the high territory with keen golden eyes. Perched high atop a sun-warmed granite boulder, a large adult caracal watches the badger's steady advance with intense, its long black-tufted ears twitch sharply in the warm breeze, sensing an intruder boldly entering its strictly defended rocky hunting territory. Unaware or simply uncaring of the feline watcher, the mother honey badger scrambles purposefully up the lower granite stone shelves. As she crests the rocky ridge, the caracal steps directly into view, snarling a sharp territorial warning with fully extended ivory claws. The agile wild cat lowers its sleek, tawny body into a tense, stalking crouch, calculating the angle for an ambush strike. Instead of retreating, the honey badger drops her heavy head and emits a ferocious, rattling war chuff from deep within. With explosive feline acceleration, the caracal launches forward across the stone, delivering a lightning-fast claw swipe aimed squarely at her exposed neck. The razor-sharp claws rake across her thick, rubbery hide, but the loose skin shifts harmlessly, completely deflecting the lethal impact. Instantly pivoting within her loose skin, she counterattacks with terrifying ferocity, snapping bone-crushing jaws straight toward the caracal's front paws. Shocked by her total refusal to back down, the agile feline leaps backward onto a high boulder, ears pinned flat. She presses her relentless assault forward, lunging up the rocks with snapping jaws that force the agile predator further back. Recognizing that this armored powerhouse cannot be subdued or intimidated, the caracal wisely decides to abandon the dangerous territorial confrontation entirely. With one final defensive hiss, the wild cat bounds gracefully over the granite crest, vanishing into the rocky labyrinth beyond. Standing solitary upon the high boulder, the honey badger asserts complete dominance over the ridge, scent-marking the sun-warmed granite stone. With the feline threat neutralized, she turns toward the shadowy gorge ahead, driven by the eternal duty of feeding her cub. Entering the cool shadows of the dry river gorge, she moves stealthily between towering granite cliffs carved by ancient seasonal floodwaters. Dry river gravel crunches softly beneath her padded feet as she follows a faint, musky scent winding deep between fallen driftwood. Her keen nostrils flare against cool riverbed silt, detecting the thick, ancient aroma of a massive, cold-blooded predator lurking close nearby. She halts beneath a towering overhang, her sharp eyes scanning the deep, shadowy recesses of a massive granite crevice straight ahead. Inside the cavernous rock fissure, the ambient temperature drops sharply, creating a secluded den completely untouched by the scorching savanna sun. 4 meters of thick, muscular coils shift silently across the stone shelf, scales shimmering with dark olive and brown natural camouflage. An enormous African rock python uncoils its heavy, muscular body, its distinctive cloudy left eye gleaming in the faint canyon light. Giant constrictor rears its broad triangular head, blocking the narrow gorge path with overwhelming muscular strength and lethal predatory intent. Unintimidated by the python's sheer size, the mother honey badger bristles her silver mantle and emits a fierce, sharp, warning growl. The serpent pulls its thick neck back into a tight S-shaped strike curve, forked black tongue sampling the badger's heat signature. With terrifying explosive force, the python strikes forward, gaping jaws aimed straight at the honey badger's stocky head and exposed neck. She ducks with lightning reflexes, the serpent's heavy strike crashing against bare rock as her thick, loose skin slips past danger. Seizing the brief opening, she lunges forward and clamps powerful, crushing jaws directly onto the python's thick, muscular neck vertebrae. The massive snake thrashes, wrapping suffocating coils around her body, but her rubbery hide allows her to twist inside the constriction. Delivering a bone-snapping bite, she forces the giant constrictor to unravel its coils and retreat deep into the dark crevice. Climbing out of the shadowed gorge, she enters an expansive grove of umbrella acacias bathed in rich golden-orange late-afternoon sunlight. Tall, dry grass sways gently beneath the sprawling canopy, concealing the movements of Africa's most secretive and deadly arboreal apex predator. She stops abruptly beside an ancient trunk, her sensitive black nostrils catching the faint, unmistakable scent of a nearby hunting leopard. High up on a thick, horizontal acacia bough, a powerful adult leopard rests in silent ambush, watching the ground below. Its piercing amber eyes lock onto the badger, a unique circular ring rosette marking its muscular right shoulder in the sun. The leopard bunches its powerful shoulder muscles, shifting weight along the rough bark in preparation for a sudden downward ambush pounce. Looking directly upward into the branches, the mother honey badger detects the spotted feline silhouette against the bright, sunlit acacia canopy. The big cat creeps lower along the heavy bough, glaring down with cold calculation at the small but formidable creature beneath. Standing her ground, the badger bears sharp white canines, releasing a harsh, rattling war hiss that echoes through the quiet grove.